which is exciting. Oh, hi.
Hi.
It's cold in my place right now, which is kind of funny because the sun, we've had these hazy skies from Canadian wildfires, which has prevented it from being hotter than it is. So like it was kind of stuffy in my place last night. And I was like, I'm going to open the windows and keep fans going all night just to clear it out. And when I woke up, I swear it was like 50 degrees in here. I don't think it was that cold, but it was chilly. So I've been wearing a hoodie today, which is funny. Once I think the haze will burn off a little bit more this afternoon, but and it'll start to get probably kind of warm in here again. But anyway, neither here nor there. Hi.
Hello.
Welcome to Next Level from Level with Emily. I host the show. I'm Emily, and I'm here with producer Sam Keenan. Hello, Sam.
Howdy do.
And we wrangle ourselves together once a week, if possible, usually right at this time to talk about this week's upcoming episode. And that happens to be a good friend of the show, Maclaine Diemer, and his music for Firmament, which is pretty exciting, from Cyan Worlds. And Cyan Worlds, they made Myst and Riven and all those other games. Did you ever play Myst or Riven?
No, I
really
didn't.
Okay, because
I
that
missed
was
that
like
whole thing.
Yeah, we didn't have that. I mean, my whole weird childhood history of gaming, but
Yeah, you were only allowed to play horseshoes in the barn.
Yeah. Hopscotch on the sidewalk. But yeah, they're beautiful games. They're puzzle games, which, oh God, okay. I'm going to try not to spend too much time talking about Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. But let me just say, I think it's a lot harder than Breath of the Wild. I very much miss, this could be spoilery. I don't know. I'm not going to talk about like story or anything, just certain powers, I guess. I mean, there's one power missing that I don't think is coming back. I don't know, but I miss it so much. And that makes it a little frustrating because I relied on that a lot in the last game. And the puzzles are just more complex because the powers are different and stuff. And so, one of the things about puzzle games, which is what got me there, is that, I tend to not solve them very well. And therefore I feel not very smart. And I start to feel like, everybody else is probably figuring this out. And why do I have to look this up? And I start feeling that way. And I don't like feeling that way when I play games, which is why I don't like to play puzzle games. And so, it's like, it's not, so I keep confronting that in Tears of the Kingdom, which I did to a certain extent in Breath of the Wild. So I'm hopeful that maybe it's part of the learning curve and that maybe as I get more accustomed to how they're constructing their puzzles and those things, that'll kind of go away. But anyway, that might have also kept me from Myst and Riven back in the day, because those puzzles are pretty crazy. And but they're such gorgeous games. And Firmament, which is a sequel to nothing, it's its own deal. It's just an absolutely gorgeous landscape, beautiful buildings, beautiful puzzles, beautiful game design, all the things. And so Maclaine did play those games like billions of times. And he talks about how many times he's bought Myst over the year and like over the years.
Over the year.
Yeah, over the year. He's just bought it a bunch of times in the last calendar year. But no, he has a really deep connection with them, those games, and that just the oeuvre of Cyan Worlds. So the oeuvre. So that, that matters. But anyway, Sacha is chiming in. Hi, Sacha.
Hi.
Yeah, it's Myst there. I don't know. The best part about the conversation is just how in tune Maclaine is with that world and that vibe. And the soundtrack that he wrote is phenomenal. I honestly don't know if I'm technically allowed to play any of it because the game's not out till Friday. Game's not out yet.
Okay.
Or maybe it came out, or did it come out today? Let me look, because I can't, I have too many devices in front of me. Firmament release date, May 18th. Oh, tomorrow.
Oh.
Yeah, I really shouldn't. I feel bad. I mean, it probably would be best if we didn't. That's, we kind of, I think, pride ourselves on keeping our noses clean in that way if we can. And, as long as we know that, so I won't, but I can play some past Mist music. Well, it won't be Maclaine's. You'll hear, and it was one of the brothers who wrote, was it Robin? Who, I've interviewed him, I should remember, but it was like a decade ago. Mist soundtrack. Because he talks about the synthesizer that was used in Emu, as I've learned is the correct pronunciation of the word. People in Australia hate the rest. Yeah, exactly. An Emu feels so weird to say it that way. Synthesizer. But yeah,
it sounds like some sort of like AI cat. It's like get an emu.
I know, get an emu. Email.
Yeah, email.
Oh, email. Okay, can you hear this if I play it?
I'm not hearing it.
Oh, wait. Here's a super important reason why. It's because I didn't turn on I didn't turn off the noise suppression. All right, let's try this now. So this is just
listening party with Maclaine. That'd be cool.
That would be super cool. And I never know. I just wonder if he would have time. I will find out though. I will ask him, because that would be super fun. And he's awesome. All right. Now are you hearing it?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Robin.
So what's that we were just listening to?
That's the soundtrack from the original Mist.
Oh, okay.
Back in 1990, God, 1 or 3 or something. I don't know. Long time
Interesting.
ago. We were in high school when that game came out. And the two brothers started Cyan Worlds, Robin and Rand Miller. And Robin Miller is the one who did the music for Mist and Riven and some other things. And I interviewed him at NPR. But it was so long ago. And so Maclaine, in the interview, he talks about, he's like, I tried to find all these interviews with Robin, and I bit my tongue because I didn't want to interrupt him, but I was like, I wonder if he stumbled across mine, but I figured he would have mentioned it if he had. So yeah, that's funny. I should look for it and see if I can find it, but because that was ages ago.
Right.
I'm sure I sounded, oh my God. I would ask someone else to look for it and listen to it. Sacha would probably know.
I'm sure you sounded great.
It's up there. Who knows? It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But
maybe a little extra earnest.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I don't know. But the thing about the Mist music is, it's not like Maclaine's music for Firmament is much more ambient. And again, these are different. It's like different games, but it's the same kind of psyche mindset. You know what I mean? So he talks about all that stuff. So I don't want to sound as crazy as I'm sounding, but it's just really ambient and soft attacks and stuff. Like in that Mist track we just heard, there's pizzicato and hard, almost like bell type tones to the attacks, which have a hard hammer to them, and there's none of that in Maclaine's music at all. It's very ambient and atmospheric, and I really liked it. So I'm gonna stop talking and let you go now.
I mean, I think if it was inspired by that Mist stuff you were just playing, that makes perfect sense. It's like it's like a it's that, if that was a genre, that's it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the I really thought the soundtrack was super cool, really cool, and I love the sound of it. And that's like, you know, that's just various taste choices, and I like them all. It's just really this. It's like my favorite kind of reverbs, my favorite kind of industrial sounds, my favorite kind of added things to make it feel organic, but also really, you know, synth sounds, but they also sound organic, like all old and alive and stuff. It doesn't sound like a cheesy keyboard sound.
Yeah.
Really
Very
cool.
analog-y kind of. Yeah.
Yeah.
Warmer sounds. Yeah.
Right.
And I love that you said industrial, because that's what he calls it. He calls it ambient industrial, or maybe he calls it industrial ambient. I can't remember which, but one of the two. And it's such a great description. I mean, it's
a perfect title for that music. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. That's just exactly, because there is some distortion and grit in there, but everything still just moves really slowly. And there you go. Sasha says I interviewed him in August 2014. Robin Miller. That was 9 years ago.
Stupid.
Oh, to be 9 years younger again. We've entered that period of my life. I mean, we wouldn't be here if we didn't. But yeah, I loved that description, because I thought that was really, really apt, and just so different than anything we've heard from Maclaine. Because even Salt and Sacrifice, which was mostly synthetic, but still had, you know, some live performances and stuff in it, a lot of live performances in it. You know, I mean, it's so different than this, and also the first time he's ever done a project all on his own, which is interesting.
That is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
he
it
did
really
not
has
leave the studio.
It has a very you know, distinct, like, what's the word, flavor to it, like you know, mood and vibe and stuff, and maybe he that's like him, you know, doing him sort of thing.
Right. Yes. Yes. And he also kind of hints that he really wants to just do an album like that. Like that's his bread and butter. Like that just comes naturally from him, that kind of ambient, slow moving, chillaxed stuff. And he really just, he's like, God, I just want to do an album like that. So I hope he does.
I mean,
I hope he does.
That's cool. I really, you know, I like, I've tried messing around with like making some ambient music like that, and it's not easy. It's not as easy as it seems
for you, right? I mean, that's
that's the thing, is it depends on who you are, I'm sure, but
because
like,
he's like, this is me, man.
Right, I know, but like and I know a dude that I've talked to about it that writes that kind of stuff, and just trying to get to and I think you guys get into it in the interview a little bit too, but kind of get to the bottom of what it's like to write stuff like that, because it takes a certain sort of patience or something to be able to like take it all in slowly. Like there's a couple of tracks that kind of almost reminded me of remember that big fad when people would take pop songs and slow them down to like 100? Yeah. It like, some of it sounded like that. It sounds like pop music, like stretched.
Yep.
Know? And that's really cool. And it's also because when you stretch out those pop tunes, you get all these artifacts and terrible sounding digital noise.
Right.
But when you actually just take the time to slowly go through these changing tones and chords, and something will come in, this will kind of sneak its way in, and that stuff is if you can slow down and take it in, it's really neat. Yeah.
He does at one point through this process, he unearthed a tape that he had sent to Berkeley, his audition tape.
Okay.
Now that he slows down and uses in at least one track.
Okay. Yeah.
So
okay. Maybe I think
that's toward the end of but we talk about that maybe toward the end of the interview. You might not be at that point yet. Or I also know that I also know that while you're editing, you're not always absorbing everything that he's saying.
Right.
So that's my job.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I'm not sure when we talk about that in there, but he does talk about that. So you might be just familiar enough as a music producer yourself with what those artifacts and that kind of stuff sounds like, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. Very cool. I can't
It's
remember
neat.
which track either, but oh, the soundtrack is so good. I'm really bummed I can't play it, but we could have maybe a listening party with Maclaine and do some Firmament listening. That could be really cool. I'll ask him what he thinks about it, because he talked about how fun it'd be to do some like behind the scenes stuff with I don't think he talked about it in the interview. I don't think it's in the interview, but maybe it is, just to do some behind the scenes of like how he made some of the tracks. So yeah, he's a cool
super
dude.
Cool.
I love talking to that guy, man. He's great. It's fun conversation and great music. And it's just fun to hear that side of him, you know, compared to Guild Wars, right? Like, holy shit. It's so different than Guild Wars.
Yeah, it's super different. Yeah.
And also that he got like his dream soundtrack because there's no combat music. And he hates writing combat music. So I got a kick out of that too. I'm like, well, there you go. You just got to do puzzle games and then you don't have to worry about combat music. But yeah. Lots of cool stuff in there in that chat that keeps coming to mind that I want to relay, but then I don't want to spoil it all. So
some things, that I did hear already from that conversation was just that he got instruments out.
And, yes, he does. He got a bunch of instruments out.
That seemed fun. What I've listened to of that so far is just him explaining, you know, how he used these different instruments that he's adding to these soundscapes, and then there's a couple moments where you get to hear them kind of mixed into a track after he plays a couple of notes or whatever, and that's really fun stuff.
Yes,
that's fun to hear. Yeah,
one of them is called the. Oh, damn it. I'll find it. No, I'm not going to find it. Anyway, it's like a mini sitar. Maybe if I searched that, I'd find it. But whatever. He talks about it. No.
City?
Sitet. But he does show that one. He shows the EMU synthesizer that he uses, which is cool. It's in the background. And what else? The bass. He shows this bass that he used, which is I think a 7-string bass, 6-string bass, whatever. He shows it in YouTube is the best way to see that stuff, because obviously you can't see it on the audio version. And plus I edit out in the audio version. I had to edit out like chunks of him going to get these instruments in the first place, which I may or may not edit out of the YouTube video. We'll see. I haven't gotten that far yet, but yeah, that was super cool. I'm glad you brought that up, because I love that part. That's like been one of the perks of doing these on video. That's been, you know, one of the perks that came out of that horrible pandemic was us doing all these interviews on video, which never was the protocol before. So so that's always fun when they get out some axes to show. Let's see what else. But we do have a listening party coming up, just not necessarily with Maclaine. I'll let him know it's happening. I don't know. But it is the 27th, I believe. April, May listening party, Saturday the 27th at noon Central. And that will be in the patron chat on Discord. And we will listen to tunes together and talk about them. Super fun. We've done one in the past and it flew by. It was just super fun to just listen to a bunch of tracks together and stuff. So we'll be doing that on the 27th. And I don't think I have anything more to announce. I've got an interview coming up right away after this with Stemage about a couple different projects he's done. He's got like 1 billion albums up, but he also has done a lot of really cool soundtrack things and personal projects. So I'm really looking forward to talking to him. Got an interview coming up with John Robert Matz about Chia, which is a fantastic game that I got a platinum trophy in.
You did?
I did. To be fair,
that game looks cool. I want to play it.
Game is awesome. And to be fair, if you're gonna get a platinum trophy, that is doable. The trickiest thing, the thing that took me there's a couple tricky things. Diving is a little tricky because you do these high dives and you have to score enough points to get a gold trophy. And then the shooting challenges with your slingshot, those were a little tricky too. But got all that stuff, and platinum trophy in Chia. Great music in there. Actually, Stemage, the guy I'm interviewing today, played guitar on the title track for Chia.
Oh,
yeah. And I just found that out doing research about him. And then who else is coming up? The guy who lives in Stillwater, which is basically a suburb of the Twin Cities, although they would probably resent that categorization. But his name is Brent Meyer, and he worked on a game called, is it Katoa? Yes. Which is it's like you revive the ocean. It's like you're building it's like a sim that I'm not describing it well at all, but you like take care of this ocean reef and the fish and stuff. And as you do that, you're like actually donating to charity or something. I don't know exactly the nuance, but it's some kind of conservation game where your actions translate to actual dollars in the world somewhere helping do something for ocean conservation. So, but that connection, the way I found out about Brent, was really fun. So we'll talk about that again. It's not important now, but it's cool that he lives so close. The person who introduced us was like, I think you're kind of in the same neck of the woods. And I just assume when people say that, they're usually saying like Chicago, which is like 6.5 hours away. So, but no, they're like Stillwater. I'm like, oh, geez, that's like 20 minutes from here. So, yeah, that'll be a fun chat. Those are the ones coming up. And I've got others, in the works. And
cool.
Yeah. Anything on your mind that you want to talk about? What's been going on in your nerd universe?
Well,
my buzzer just went off.
What does that mean? Jerky's done?
Somebody's at my door.
Oh. Well, we'll talk about me some other time. Why don't we just say goodbye, and you can check out who's bothering you at your door? Because
my assumption is that it's a package. So you go ahead and talk about your nerddom. Oh. What's going on with you? I just heard it.
In nerddom,
okay, hang on. I'm sorry. Hang on.
See, all right.
Yeah. Let me just BRB.
Okay. Wow. So now I'm just here. What do I talk about? Well, the secret is we won't tell Emily this, but I've been reading a lot of comic books lately. I don't know why I wouldn't tell her that, because she wouldn't care. But I've been reading OG stuff from the 60s that I haven't gotten through before. And that's been pretty neat. Sasha, I'm looking at you. One of these days they'll make a good there she's back. Never mind.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I did have to sign for it, so it's a good thing. Good thing I went down there. What timing? Like, of all the hours in the day. So anyway, it was it is a trackpad for my computer here.
Oh.
At my standing desk, so that I can, because when we're editing, like a trackpad, you become so accustomed to editing with it.
Yeah.
In your DAW, that it's like so annoying to not have a trackpad to edit. And I just have all these weird repetitive stress. Like if I hang my hands a certain way to edit, I start getting just pain in my arm, all that crap that happens when you just do things. So anyway, yeah, this'll prevent some of that, which is nice because the way the desk is and all the things. But yeah, I'm very excited about that. So what were you saying? I'm sorry. That was ridiculous.
I was just talking about the fact that I've been reading comic books from the 60s lately.
Oh, Hulk. Were you reading the Hulk?
I had been reading. I've done some Hulk and some of the Submariner and some of Iron Man and also just some random stuff.
Cool.
Which has been pretty fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, why did you choose to go back to that?
Just because I was realizing there how many of these old stories that I haven't really read or hadn't read for a long time, and there's whole swaths of the 60s and 70s and stuff that I never really, that I always considered them ancient history, so I never really read too much of them. I read like some origins or some random things, but it's interesting to like go through the like all the original stories and stuff. And it's also just kind of fun. This is tangent obviously on comic books, but it's fun to see because a lot of the stuff that I like grew up on and stuff from like the 90s and things was very influenced by that stuff, but I just didn't know what they were taking and what they were referencing and stuff. I just, besides the major stuff, you never know about those old stories. So it's just kind of cool.
Nice.
Yeah. Because the only real old stuff I've read is like Spider-Man and X-Men, and various rando stuff. But everything else is mostly 80s, 90s,
Yeah. Digital, right?
For the most part, yeah. Yep.
Which ones do you have physically?
I mean, I've got tons, but I've got I've got a lot of Hulk from the 80s and 90s, and I've got a lot of Spider-Man.
A lot of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Spidey's your guy.
Yep. And all sorts of just random stuff. Bunch of Spy Boy, which was a little side Dark Horse comic that was pretty good, and all sorts of stuff, really. Yeah.
All right. Well, you'll be there at the listening party, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Good. All right.
That'll be fun.
That will be fun. Well, find us on the Discord. Link is down in the show notes eventually, and on YouTube here, and on Patreon, and wherever you get your podcasts. So thanks for hanging.
All right.